Good evening all. Today's topic is challenges of type 2 diabetes mellitus management in
Yes,
India.
madam. You can go ahead, madam. Your audio and video is coming, madam.
Okay. So, good evening all. Today's topic is challenges of type 2 DM management in India, a 2-in-1 solution. This is my financial disclosure. Today's agenda is divided into 3 parts. Part 1 is type 2 DM in India, status of care, and part 2 is factors that impact choice of insulin therapy, and part 3 is innovations over time to best suit Indian realities. We will discuss one by one. Coming to the first one, diabetes care in India, where do we stand? India is the home to the second largest number of adults living with diabetes worldwide. That is, 1 in 18 adults have diabetes. That is almost 77 million people in India suffering from diabetes. More than 57% of people with diabetes are undiagnosed. That is 44 million people have diabetes without diagnosis, and 10 lakhs 10,000 people die from diabetes related causes. That is 2,768 people are dying from diabetes related complications every day in India. So, coming to the expenditure of diabetes related complications in India is approximately 52,000 crores. All this in a population that has relatively earlier type 2 diabetes mellitus onset in India and higher insulin resistance and the greater insulin secretory defect. All these are the factors leading to the diabetes and compared to the Western counterparts. Coming to the burden of diabetes in India, 4 in 5 people with diabetes are uncontrolled. Current status of management, control complications and psychosocial aspects of patients with diabetes in India results from the DiabCare India 2011 study, that is number of patients 5,907 persons with T2DM have HbA1c less than 7%, that is 19.7% have diabetes control. And according to the real world evidence of glycemic control among patients with type 2 diabetes mellitus in India, the TIDE study shows in 2019 55,639 patients, that is 23.4% of people with T2DM having HbA1c less than 7%. And factors affecting achievement of the glycemic targets among type 2 diabetes patients in South Asia, analysis of the CARS trial in 2020 for 1146 people have HbA1c less than 7%, that is 16.3%. So all these data shows the control of diabetes in India is very poor. And coming to the Indian Diabetes Care Index, according to this, fasting plasma glucose is around 176 and postprandial glucose is around 241 and HbA1c is around 8.48 according to this IDCI. And only 22% of the people with diabetes have HbA1c of less than 7%. This denotes most of the people with having diabetes are uncontrolled. So, every 1% reduction in HbA1c, that is glycosylated hemoglobin, counts impacts on diabetes related complications. We will look at the diabetes related complications. What are they? According to the UKPDS 35, every 1% drop in HbA1c is associated with decreased risk of the following. And there is decreased risk of 12% of decreased risk of stroke with 1% reduction of HbA1c, and 19% decreased risk of cataract extraction, and 16% decreased risk of heart failure, and 14% of myocardial infarction, and 43% of lower extremity amputation of or fatal peripheral vascular disease, and 37% of microvascular disease, that is either retinopathy or neuropathy or diabetic kidney disease, and 14% of all cause mortality, and 21% of death related due to diabetes. All these are possible with with 1% reduction of HbA1c. Coming to the glycemic efficacy, compared to the OHS, insulin offers maximum glycemic efficacy. GLP-1 receptor agonists and DP4 inhibitors, alpha glucosidase inhibitors, thiazolidine, sulfonylureas, glinides, metformin and basal insulin, prandial and basal bolus and SGLT2 inhibitors, premix insulin offers greater reduction of the HbA1c more than 1.7%. Coming to the second part of our agenda, factors that impact choice of insulin therapy. So, first and most important factor is high carbohydrate diet. It is the common Indian reality. See this bar diagram. Wherever you go, whether it is East India, West India, North India, South India, Central India, carbohydrates intake is 60 to 70% of the energy intake. So, next is fat, next is protein. 61 to 70% energy intake in Indians is through carbohydrates present in the diet. This leads to higher postprandial glucose control, glucose excursions, and leads to higher HbA1c and uncontrolled diabetes, and then later leads to diabetes related complications. In a subject who eats 3 times a day, that is 50% of the day is spent in postprandial phase. See this Indian scenario. After breakfast, this slide shows, after breakfast, most of the 50% of the phase is in postprandial state, and post-absorptive state is next, and after lunch and after dinner, most of the patients have postprandial state in more than 50%. So, treatment strategies should address both meal related and fasting hyperglycemia for optimum HbA1c control. So, evidence from Indian studies: high postprandial glucose and high HbA1c. This graph shows, grey color shows the fasting plasma glucose, and blue color shows the postprandial glucose, and red color shows the HbA1c. So, according to these various trials, that is Indian Diabetes Care Index, DiabCare, A1C, and present and improved trials, all these trials, the fasting plasma glucose varies from 148 to 192, and postprandial glucose varies from 209 to 289, almost 300. Almost all these trials shows uncontrolled diabetes, and A1C varies from 8.6 to 9.6, and uncontrolled glycemia in India demands timely treatment, optimization, and insulin therapy that offers total control of both fasting plasma glucose and postprandial plasma glucose, and glycosylated hemoglobin. Unlike Western population, postprandial glucose should be controlled and leads to the levels of the HbA1c in Asians. So, coming to the Asian scenario, Asian picture, this shows the Asian picture, this bar diagram. Grey color again shows the fasting plasma glucose and blue color shows the postprandial glucose, and A1C is varying from 7.1 to 12.7. Whether it is low or whether it is high, postprandial glucose plays a vital role in achieving the HbA1c. So, when the HbA1c is less than 7.1%, postprandial glucose accounts for 70% and fasting accounts for 30%. And when the A1C is between 7.5 to 1 to 7.5%, fasting plasma glucose contributes to 40%, whereas postprandial glucose contributes to 60% to the HbA1c. When the A1C is between 7.6 to 8, more or less fasting and postprandial glucose contributes to the same amount of HbA1c. And when the HbA1c is between 8.1 to 8.7, fasting plasma glucose contributes to more compared to the postprandial glucose. As the HbA1, when the fasting is plasma glucose is more, it contributes to more when the HbA1c is more than 8.8 to 12.7 when compared with the postprandial glucose. That is, higher contribution of the postprandial glucose at lower HbA1c levels, similar to Caucasian data from Monier et al. Study, and significant contribution from postprandial glucose even at higher HbA1c levels in Asians, unlike Caucasian data from Monier et al. Study. So, coming to the key realities of the managing diabetes in Indians, impact of the choice of therapy for insulin. As we know that first one is a high carbohydrate diet and high postprandial glucose levels, and third one is patients uncontrolled on multiple OADs and need for simplicity and convenience. So all these criteria will match with one insulin. Can body basal insulin can match all? No. So do we have a solution to address these Indian realities of T2DM management? Yes. So coming to the innovations over time to best suit the Indian realities. This is the last part. So coming to the insulin innovation, insulin is innovated long back ago, 1921 by Frederick Banting and Charles Best, and that is 1921 July 27 they discovered insulin, and later on animal insulin preparations came, and later on in 1980s recombinant human insulins come into vogue, and 1990s rapid acting analogs came into vogue, later biphasic analogs, later in 2000s basal analogs came into vogue. Now newer generation analogs came into vogue, and now we are in 2021, that is 100th birthday of the insulin, that is 1921 to 2021, that we are celebrating, that is whole world is celebrating the 100th birthday of the insulin. So people are living with diabetes, whether it is type 1 or type 2, due to insulin. The mortality rate is decreased with the innovation of the insulin, whether it is a human insulin or the analog insulin, whatever it may be. So what are the challenges with co-formulating basal insulin with rapid acting insulin? So here there are two insulins, insulin glargine U100 and insulin detimel. Insulin glargine U100 is soluble at the pH 4, that is acidic, and rapid acting analogs soluble at pH 7.4. So when we mix these two, they cannot be formulated in one syringe or one cartridge. So Iglar U100 soluble at pH 4 and designed microprecipitate at neutral pH 7.4 in subcutaneous tissue, whereas commercially available rapid acting analogs are soluble at 7.4. And coming to the insulin detimer, when insulin detimer is combined with the insulin aspart, they form the hybrid hexamers when given subcutaneously and decrease the absorption of the insulin aspart, and pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics will change change regarding the insulin aspart. So this is not possible. So co-formulating insulin detimer with commercially available rapid acting analogs forms hybrid hexamers with unpredictable pharmacokinetic profiles. This insulin detimer decreases the preservatives like phenol, lysol and cresol. So the action will be decreased. Coming to the co-formulation of the ultra-long acting insulin degludec and rapid acting insulin aspart, that is nothing but the Ryzodec, in one formulation, that is ida gas. It contains insulin degludec 70% plus insulin aspart 30% existing separately in one formulation as insulin degludec in dihexameric form and insulin aspart in hexameric form. Whereas when you give subcutaneously, insulin degludec aspart co-formulation divides, and insulin degludec exists as dihexameric form and insulin aspart as hexameric form. Injected into the subcutaneous tissue, the phenol diffuses quickly and the insulin degludec dihexamers link up via single side chain contacts to form long hexamers, whereas zinc diffuses slowly, causing individual ida hexamers to disable, releasing monomers slowly. This is the mechanism, basic mechanism for the ultra long acting action of the insulin degludec more than 32 hours. And whereas insulin aspart given subcutaneously, it immediately dissociates from hexameric form into monomeric form and released into the circulation rapidly and decreases the postprandial glucose. So coming to this, insulin degludec and insulin aspart exist separately in solution in co-formulation as insulin degludec as dihexamer and insulin aspart as hexamer form. Whereas when given subcutaneously, both ida gas, insulin degludec and IAS, that is ida gas, insulin degludec exists as multihexameric form and insulin aspart exists as monomeric form, as I discussed previously. Insulin degludec aspart, as at a steady state, has distinct prandial and basal lowering glucose effects. That is, when given 0.6 units per kg body weight ida gas, the prandial component, that is the immediate glucose rise after a major meal, is controlled by the insulin aspart, whereas the flat stable control, that is with insulin degludec, that is basal component. It mimics the just basal physiological insulin profile. So insulin degludec aspart is safe and approved for use in people with having renal or hepatic insufficiency, whether it is mild, moderate or severe. It is very safe and approved to use in diabetic patients with renal impairment and hepatic impairment. Coming to this slide, ida gas phase 3 clinical trial program is going on, phase 3A and phase 3B studies with comparators like insulin detimer bias 30 and insulin dargen U100 versus basal insulin plus IAS with means and versus ida gas. Still trials are going on. So coming to the indications for using ida gas. One is start and stay therapy. It is very simple to start and very simple to increment the dose and titrate the dose and optimize the dose. So patients uncontrolled on OADs, patients uncontrolled on basal insulin, patients uncontrolled on premix insulins, patients uncontrolled on basal plus bolus therapy, and coming to the patient type, whether it is type 1 DM or type 2 DM more than 18 years, elderly with type 2 DM, and type 2 DM with renal or hepatic impairment, type 2 DM with other comorbidities, it is very safe to use to control the for glucose management. According to the RSJ and ESI Clinical Practice Recommendations 2020, RSJ and ESI Clinical Practice Recommendations for Management of Type 2 Diabetes Mellitus 2020, avoid using insulin as a threat and alleviate patient anxiety about insulins. Once daily ida-gasp is recommended as a choice for insulin initiation. So, a small counseling is required before initiating the insulin to alleviate the phobia and anxiety or threats or myths about the insulin before initiating. Coming to the summary. Nearly 4 in 5 people with diabetes in India are uncontrolled. This demands timely insulin initiation. And next one is high carbohydrate diet resulting in high postprandial glucose levels is a common Indian reality. Ida-gasp is a prudent choice for insulin initiation in Indians with type 2 DM as it offers total, that is fasting, and as well as postprandial glucose control as well as HbA1c control. The recent RSJ and ESI 2020 consensus recommended ida-gasp as a choice for insulin initiation. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Garu, for your
Thank you for your
nice
patient